Military members of Reddit, what's one thing you wish that you knew before joining? You do not respawn in RL. FPS_Doug. Airplanes are in the Air Force. That there are some pretty decent people, but a huge amount of idiots and pieces of shit you have to be around all the time. Run, do push-ups, and do sit-ups, even if you're going into the Air Force. You won't be prepared to succeed in the civilian world unless you make the effort to be ready. No one else is going to care. When you're being shouted at by superiors, never show any emotion and always respond calmly. They won't show it, but they will have more respect for you. If you can easily score a 70+ on the AVAB, you probably should consider going in as an officer instead of enlisted. If you score 90+, you definitely shouldn't go in as enlisted. That recruiter who is telling you it's easy to get into officer training school as enlisted is full of shit. Females. Know how to do a bun before you get there and have your hair done the day you ship out. Thanks. My dad was special operations during Operation Iraqi Freedom, and he told me the same thing, that every skill he acquired doing his job in the army was illegal to use in the civilian world. I'm trying to get advice before I join the army in a year so I can make better choices before enlisting. US Marine Infantry, First Gulf War. War is real, it sucks, and hearing Marines scream in fear and pain will haunt you. That recruiters' jobs are basically to funnel people into specific jobs that maybe they are down in numbers on. So that amazing job and skill set that you are a perfect fit for with your test scores is likely just Johnny Recruiter meeting his numbers. Go to medical. When things hurt. Not change your socks. Not ignore it. Tell them it's an 8+ out of 10 on the pain scale or they won't document it. Then when you get out, you can have a valid history and have accountability, versus the VA disregarding your injuries as service-related and telling you to pound sand. You will see so many genitals. Between basic training, deployments, and checker detail, watching individuals pee into a cup for their drug tests, I've seen at least 200 dicks in the 12 years I've been in. Research everything and not rely solely on what my recruiter told me. Duty. I wish I knew that once I got to a ship I would have to spend 2 or 3 nights on board standing 12 hours of watch, in addition to a normal working day. I could handle it if we didn't go underway every couple weeks for up to 2 months at a time, not including deployments, but the lack of being able to plan or really look forward to anything was what drove me to get out. That you have to go through reception everywhere you go. It is the most boring shit I've ever had to do. From my brother, IRR. Individual. Ready. Reserve. Basically, if you sign up for 6 years, you're not out after 6 years. For 2 years after you think you're out, they can reactivate you. Then those 2 years start over. Imagine putting in 6 years, thinking you're out, it's been 20 months, you got a job, a house, had a kid, and you get a call, time to deploy for 6 months. No, you can't refuse, you'll be considered AWOL, lose your benefits, and possibly face court-martial. Be aware of the full commitment you are making. Recruiters will lie to you. It's an inhuman machine that doesn't care about you. This isn't inherently a bad thing, it just is. But what it means is that you need to look out for your own interests, the military will not. Any attempt to guilt you out of looking out for your own interests is misguided at best and predatory at worst. The "we're all brothers in arms" screed applies to the very, very few individuals whom you trust with your life. Everyone else is part of the machine. Look out for them too as part of being a decent adult, but put your own oxygen mask on, first. Broader advice for those joining: save. your fucking money. Literally all of your income is disposable. Your shelter, utilities, food, gym, medical, and dental are covered. This is the one time in your life when you can easily save more than half your income and still have enough to party your ass off. You can very easily save up a down payment on a house while you're in that, a valuable job skill, and the GI Bill can set you up extremely well for success in the civilian world. Caffeine in any form is forbidden during basic training. An extra $20,000 isn't worth an extra 2 years of service. Don't take a 6-year contract, take the 4. Oh, also, volunteering can mean sweeping the sunshine off the pad, or it can mean being the only guy going home early because you're the only volunteer. That the day-to-day work is a lot less Full Metal Jacket and a lot more office space. Don't take the yelling at basic training personally. Even when they single you out, it's not personal. Though we had one swap who was absolute garbage and we did everything in our power to make him quit. He was eventually kicked out a few months after basic. All that shit on TV and you hear about how women love a man in uniform and it'll help you get girls is total bullshit. Most of the time you're stationed in shitholes, looking at you, Oklahoma, and depending on what you do you're usually gone, so often it's really impossible to try and maintain a relationship. Me and my brothers are perpetually single, largely because of these two factors. Still wouldn't take it back though. I have no regrets about joining. If you want to work on aircraft, don't pick crew chief. Choose a job that translates to civilian life. That it isn't an exception to other government organizations. Minimal budget with maximum paperwork hurdles. Somehow planes and missiles and bombs get bought daily and often recklessly, but if you want a paperclip you'll have to cry your eyes out only to hear that the allotted budget for office supplies has run out. In May. That it's possible to not get a fucking paycheck if you join the Coast Guard and the government shuts down. If you want a specific job, do not sign the contract until your recruiter gets that job for you. I wanted a cyber job in the Air Force and my recruiter told me to go in open electrical and hope I get cyber because it would be too long of a wait to be guaranteed that job. I ended up with a job I hated instead. The military will take whatever it wants from you, so make sure you get all you possibly can from it. If you get hurt they don't give a shit about you. What a colossal waste of time it would be. 11 years being constantly treated like a child, made to clean my room, then later supervising of cleaning of rooms. Special classes every Friday, just to be told not to drink and drive and not to rape anyone. Inventory the same equipment daily, because there wasn't anything else to do. Then get yelled at for not knowing our jobs when there was literally no training conducted. There is no mentality of service to our country. Honor, courage, commitment has been replaced by paycheck, benefits, retirement. Every job gets paid the same regardless of glory. Being infantry sucked a lot, but being ordnance pays the same but less suck factor. You rarely see the clerks at the VA due to broken bodies. Mostly combat arms. They all get the same retirement. That they were getting rid of modifying their pension and going to a 401k type retirement starting FY18 with a reduced pension amount. Edit, I have been corrected. It's a blended retirement system which is shit compared to the old format. No longer using SLRP for reserve members starting FY19. Have a plan for getting out from the moment you go in. I see so many people who hate their job stay in for 20 years because they have no other plans. Have an exit plan ready when you go in, and work towards it. You can have a degree done in 4 years of service, or nothing. I want to put the disclaimer on what I'm about to say that I've never been in combat. or deployed, so what I'm going to say may not be true for people who have been in war. The army is absolutely nothing like Band of Brothers. The close brotherhood between the soldiers in a company, the fight towards a common goal, and the leadership, both officers and NCOs, wanting what's best for their men is nothing like the army actually is. For me, the biggest of these points that I wish I had known before I joined was about leadership. All too often, leaders are people who can't accomplish anything outside of the army, so they stay in to make a living. A good chunk of them, not saying all of them, aren't even remotely good leaders, and they don't care to be good leaders, or good mentors. The only thing they care about is looking like they're good leaders to people who outrank them, and if they're successful at that, then that's good enough for them. That leads to a pretty toxic environment, and the good soldiers who actually make good leaders end up leaving after a few years because they don't want to deal with that garbage anymore, and they know they can make something of themselves in the civilian world. That's easily the one thing I wish I knew before joining. If you join the Air Force because you think it's cushy, stay the fuck away from being a crew chief on legacy aircraft. I'm talking F-16s and F-15, they're both 40 years old and behind the curve when it comes to mechanical innovations. Also the work is backbreaking and shitty as fuck. If you end up as aircraft maintenance, try and be an avionics guy or a newer airframe mechanic. It'll help in the long term, but be prepared to be shit on by everyone and their brother for not being fast enough, slow enough, good enough, worse enough, and everything in between. Don't go into it having a "if I'm good at my job, I'll get recognized for that and promoted accordingly" mindset. The military is not the meritocracy that Hollywood has painted it to be all these years. If you don't play the game and kiss ass, you can be the most knowledgeable guy in your job and it still won't mean dick. It was a very rude awakening for me when I started advancing beyond E3, E4. Don't join anything but the Air Force if you actually want a decent life. One piece of advice people always give you is embrace the suck. i.e. it's gonna suck, make the best of it. As a kid with your heart set on being a Marine infantryman, that just sounds awesome. You picture the suck in Spartan terms charging through knee-deep snow, bayonet out, giving a mighty war cry as the enemy cowers in terror at your massive brass balls. Turns out, the suck is having to stay late on Friday because your one sergeant forgot that he needs to check the serial numbers on everyone's gear before the weekend. Or spending your weekend mopping the barracks because there's a rumor that the commandant might be on base, even though there's zero chance he'll be in your room, because why would he be? Or sitting through hours upon hours of federally mandated PowerPoints warning you of the dangers of tobacco use, presented by a bored staff sergeant rocking a lip the size of a golf ball. The one lifelong regret I have, after serving 23 years active duty, is all the friends and colleagues I made over my years of service that I'll never get to see again. Met and worked with hundreds of people, none of which are part of my life any longer. Sucks. Married soldiers live a very different life than single ones. Living in the barracks, you'll be sharing a room with slovenly idiots, living through frequent inspections, noise when you're trying to sleep, etc. But the 18-year-old kid who marries his high school girlfriend is given a free house to live in, no inspections, no bullshit cleaning the barracks duty. All he has to do is live with an army wife. The barracks ain't so bad. The recruitment process is a negotiation, and it represents the last time that you'll have all the power in your relationship with the military. I joined and went into a high-demand MOS at the height of the war on terror. Most people in my training platoon had received bonuses in the tens of thousands of dollars, and some of them picked otherwise hard-to-get follow-on training, such as airborne school if you are not in combat arms, or even selected all but impossible to get first duty stations. I, meanwhile, received a sandwich, because I wasn't aware of the power dynamic. On a less serious note, some portion of the people who join will do so because they have heard that women love a man in uniform. The more important axiom to remember is that the love for a man in uniform is inversely proportional to their proximity to a military base. This axiom is well earned and constantly reinforced. Wait until October 1st at least to join. Don't join in September. Why? Fiscal year starts 10/1, which is also generally when all the good jobs become available. And then get your MOS job put in fucking writing in the contract. Your recruiter is there to put asses in seats for whatever branch. He's your bitch, not the other way around. If you want something, have it put in writing. He doesn't necessarily give two shits about you, some do, most will straight fuck you to make a quota. So don't trust the motherfucker, and don't join in September when all the good shit is gone. Unless you really want to join the infantry. And take it from a former infantryman, you don't. Go push paper or turn wrenches or whatever,